What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Thomas, and you're tuning into the Thomas Take Sports Podcast live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Very excited to bring you this edition of the Thomas Take, and it's an edition that is very important. And I say that I want to start off by saying that. Very important. This is real life stuff that we're going to be talking about. So, I most of the time I talk about sports and the ins and outs of certain situations, obviously drafting and post-game and stuff like that. And all that's fun. But this is a very near and dear situation. And that is what I refer to as the Zay Jones situation. A few days ago, maybe about a week ago, I lose track of the days, there was an incident with Zay Jones. It was reported by TMZ where Zay Jones, obviously made a mistake. And we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it and all that, and I just don't want to go there. Immediately, I was actually getting out of work that night, and I had heard the news, and immediately I thought, oh, man, Zay Jones, great guy. Fantastic guy. I've actually talked to his assistant a few times about him coming on the show, and she approved of that and, said that he'd definitely be interested, and I was very excited about that. And he's still going to be coming on. He's just got to get his ducks in a row and stuff like that. And the biggest thing that disappointed me about it was not that I was disappointed in Zay Jones. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have things in our past that we're not proud of. We've all done things that might not be ideal, shall I say. And the Zay Jones situation isn't an ideal situation. He made a mistake. I'm 100% sure that he's sorry for his mistake. It wasn't that I was shocked about the Zay Jones situation, or I wasn't mad at Zay Jones. What really shocked me and disturbed me, frankly, and I feel the need to talk about it on the show today because people went back and forth with me on it, was the reaction of the people, the reaction of the fans, the reaction towards Zay Jones, who obviously was not in the right frame of mind. But why is there a need to speculate on that? Why is there a need to say, well, he was definitely doing drugs, or he was definitely high, or he was definitely drunk? In the video that TMZ posted, was there any evidence that he was on drugs? Was there any evidence that he, had a needle in his arm? There was no evidence of that. So to speculate on someone's quote-unquote mental health, I think is a little wrong, and I think that people need to really take a look in the mirror and say, wow, this guy's 24 years old. I'm pretty sure maybe almost 25 now. He's around my age, not to date myself, but he's around my age, and he's a young kid. That people make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and I'm hopeful that this guy gets back on the right track. Definitely stays in the right lane, and he was very apologetic for his actions. His family spoke on the issue. His dad spoke on the issue. He was a former Dallas Cowboy, and said that he would be paying for any damages the $20,000 in damage to the hotel, would be paid for by the Jones family or by Zay Jones. Which, all is well and good. People make mistakes, but in terms of as a football fan, I really was shocked by the way people were so willing to say, "Oh, he was definitely on drugs. He was definitely on something." We don't know that, so why jump to that conclusion without having any information, without having any more information than what I have? People try to be the next insider and say, oh, he was definitely on drugs. That's not necessarily true. We don't know that to be true. We only have a video that scummy TMZ reported and showed of, someone probably standing near him, or maybe it was a hotel camera or whatever, basically putting him on blast. And that's somebody that obviously has, something, lacking in terms of his mental health, and he'd be the first to admit it after this situation, and he was the first to admit it. So to say, well, he definitely was on something, maybe he just had a moment, or there's just no reason to speculate, in my opinion. And the questions that were asked of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane were, well, what are you guys going to do with Zay Jones? What do they mean when they ask those questions? What are they going to do about Zay? What are they going to do about Zay Jones? Was a question that Jerry Sullivan asked, and I was just sickened by it. What are they going to do about a player that obviously has, some problems off the field? They're going to stand by that player. They're not going to throw him to the wolves and say, "Fend for yourself. You need to get help. You're nuts." Just the logic and the way they asked the questions, I was just stunned by it. And I knew doing this podcast episode today would ruffle some feathers, and people would say, well, maybe he was on. I don't care whether he was on drugs or whether he had, I don't care to speculate. The only thing that we know in the situation is that Zay Jones made a mistake and he needs help. That's virtually it. I think the Bills are going to stand by him, and they're going to obviously keep him on the team, stand by him, get him the help that he needs, because he's a huge part of what they're trying to build within the team. He's never had any incidences before this, and I don't think he will after this. I think this was a huge mistake on his part, and chastising a guy for a mistake, a huge mistake, granted, but chastising him and pointing the finger at him and saying, well, why was he doing this? Was he on drugs? There's no need to do that. No need to do that at all. And I think that people really need to slow their roll in terms of situations like these. Everybody wants to have an opinion, and I'm a very sports opinionated guy. I'd be the first to admit it. But for me to speculate and say, well, Zay Jones was 100% on drugs in the video and in the situation, I would be a moron, and I would not do that. So, and I didn't do that. So, obviously it was not a good situation. You don't have to speculate. You don't have to fill in the blanks. Just know that Zay Jones needs help. He's willing to get the help, and he's a huge part of what the Bills are trying to create. The Buffalo Bills cutting Zay Jones would have been a huge mistake, and it would have been a huge, I think it would have been a disgrace, to be honest, to cut a player for an incident off the field that was an obvious mistake, that was unprecedented in his past, never had a situation like this prior. Zay Jones is a fantastic young man, does tons of charity work, works diligently with charities, works with sick children, and is a fantastic young athlete. And I really think that is all that needs to be said. So I'm very thankful that this guy is on the team still. I'm very thankful that there are some fans out there that are willing to just not kick a man while he's down and not tweet his family and say that their son's a druggie. And I was just shocked, appalled by some of the things that I saw in this Zay Jones situation, and it had nothing to do with the actual video. The video, granted, disturbing, not good by any stretch of the imagination, but the reaction of the people, I was just as shocked by that. When we have a situation like this with one of our players, when we have a situation like this with any person, the last thing you want to do as a human being is kick a person while he's down, especially someone that obviously has had some instances, that instance of, mental health issue. And he'd be the first to admit it. So me saying that is not wrong. This was definitely, Zay Jones' father said, we're going to get Zay the help that he needs. Boom. That's it. No one else has to chime in. No one else has to bother his family with this issue. I'm sure they're very upset. I'm sure it was very, very hard for their family to have that video posted due to the fact that TMZ is full of scumbags. And anyone that tried to make that video appear as if that was their video is a huge dirtbag. And I want to preface my state. I want to throw that in there. Just a complete, total dirtbag to share that video as if it's your own. And I saw sites do that. One of them, a site that, is a Bills fan site. And I thought, wow. And it's a big one, BF, and that's all I can say. I was just completely shocked that those guys would post that video as if it was their own. They've also posted a lot of stuff as if it's their own. The LeVar Ball stuff with Brandon Bean brand and stuff, whatever they were doing, selling T-shirts that it was huge copyright infringement. A lot of weird stuff going on, and I was just appalled by it. If nobody is going to say anything about it, I will, and that's my thing. If someone's too afraid to say it, I'll say it. And if someone's got a problem with that, they can come on the show and talk to me about it. Realistically, very disappointed, not in Zay Jones. I'm very disappointed in some of the fans of Zay Jones, of the Buffalo Bills, that said all these nasty things to Zay Jones in a situation that was terrible. Purely kicking a man while he's down. And I didn't appreciate it. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take. Take care.